So, when did you go to Haiti?
Okay, so I was down there June of 2013 or 14. I can't remember exactly.
Okay.
Oh, 2014. June 2014.
14?
Yeah.
Okay. And you just went down there with a church group, I'm assuming, or?
I went with my church, First Baptist of Columbus. We have a construction team, and then we were joint with a group called Conscience International that does projects all over the world, but they have a Caribbean region, and we went for after the 2010 Haiti earthquakes. We were still doing rebuilding for that.
You said Conscious International?
Conscience, like you have Conscience International.
Okay.
The man's name, and I'll try to get some contact info for him, is Jeremy Holloman. He runs the Caribbean region.
Okay.
The Caribbean and South American region.
So you went in 2014, and y'all are still rebuilding from the 2010s?
Yes. As far as I know, they're still doing it now. So,
okay.
The city we were in is called Grand Guave, Grande space Goave, and it's on a dried out riverbed that it only floods like once a year or something. And when the earthquakes came and then the following tsunamis, it like flooded out that whole area. So the earthquakes destroyed a bunch of stuff, and then it flooded the area. And it really just destroyed a lot of it. Because these towns are, Port-au-Prince is a city, but then a lot of these towns are just, I don't know, they're not all shacks. They have buildings and stuff, but it's like a village.
Yeah, I'll say it's more like a village.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they were just destroyed, and we actually used the riverbed and stuff to collect rubble and things like that.
Were y'all just able to just go down to the riverbed, fill up baskets or whatever you could find of rocks, and then carry them back up? Or
a lot of the goal behind the Jeremy Holloman guy, he was down there when we were down there, and my understanding is that he came up with the design for these, or I know other people do it, but his particular design, and a lot of the goal was to reuse some of the crushed concrete from the buildings that had collapsed. So we did some of that, and I have some pictures showing that too. But then also they had one dump truck, and we would take this one dump truck down into the riverbed and load it up with these huge river rocks, and then we'd take them back to the job site and bust them up with sledgehammers and then use that.
Okay.
But we were able to do that,
So, I'm assuming you are able to use kind of different sizes then? Or is that something that y'all are making sure that you have with
Yes.
different sizes of rubble?
Yeah, the goal was you try to fill it up with larger rubble so that there's pockets in between when you're filling the cages, and then you could do a little bit larger size so it filters down, and then you do a real fine size so it filters down. So you want the perfect, I don't want to say compaction because you're not compacting it, but you want all the voids filled as best as possible. So yeah, you don't want all tiny rocks, and you don't want all big rocks because it'll leave too much space.
Right. So was ventilation something that y'all considered at all whenever y'all are building this, or is it just more so just they need walls?
If they were considering it, I don't know about it. That would have to be, if I can get that guy's contact information, that might be something good for him. There are windows in the houses.
Okay.
Most of them had 2 windows in the front and a window in the back, I think. I can show you some pictures. And then there was a roof. The roof was not concrete. The roof was wood. So there may have been some ventilation out of the top of that too. I'm not sure.
Did y'all just get the wood from a local?
Yes, we bought it from a supply house that was a little ways away. Actually, some of it had to come all the way from Port-au-Prince, which was it's not that far from there, but it takes hours and hours because the roads are so bad.
Right. So how did they go about bracing those windows?
They would fill the cages. Okay, the window's on the side in this building, but you see this window on the side, and they have the cages, right. And then they would fill it around it, they would cut the cage around the window, and they would fill the sides, and then sometimes they'd fill them in, this one's filled in with brick, kind of some kind of brick design that still allows air through. I'm not sure exactly how or if they did brace the windows while they were, because it was the same with the door frame too. They would just fill up beside it and then over top with the rocks.
Okay, so I'm assuming that they would. I mean, those looked pretty close to the top of the structure, so they didn't have as much kind of, I guess, pushing down onto that opening space. I think that's the biggest concern is being able to build it up. But what we thought is just building it all the way to the roof, so that we don't have to worry about trying to figure out some way of bracing the top of the window.
Right, and I think the windows are small enough. I'm trying to find some better pictures of windows. I didn't even think about that. I think the windows are small enough in these to where, see, they just kind of built over the top, and they plaster. I want to say plaster, but they basically just spackle it with cement. And I guess it was just strong enough to hold because there's no bracing in that one.
So, talking about bracing, I mean, did y'all have any type of bracing?
Yes. When we, that's the other thing, these pictures, I've kind of lined them up to show the process, but we would start with, you clear the site, and they would build up with large river rocks that we wouldn't break up, kind of like what we look like a crawl space or stem wall foundation, and then they would fill that in with dirt, and then on top of those, we would build a wood frame, and it's not like anything special. It's literally just probably however that long pieces of wood they had. They put them together some way, but they made basically a square, and then we would, not a square, 3 sides, and then we would bring the big cages for the walls in and attach them to the wood frames while we were filling them in. And then once we filled them in and eventually covered them with the cement, then they would take the wood frames down. And
So,
stand on there.
okay, so you said they would dig like a trench essentially, fill that with dirt, and then build a frame on top of that.
Okay, yeah. See, this is, you're standing in the building here. There's rocks all the way around to make the perimeter of the building, and they'll fill that in with dirt, and that'll be your floor. And then they have the wood frame behind, and then they have the cages attached to the wood frame until we have them filled. That's actually what they're doing there, is attaching the cages to the wood frame.
Is that in order just to make sure that the walls don't fall in?
Yes, and then the wood frame will come off when the walls are finished. That's just to make sure they don't fall in while
While you're
under
doing it.
construction. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then once the roof goes on, obviously it'll hold the walls too.
Right. Okay. So those cages, were you able to bring those with y'all, or was there somewhere there that y'all?
We built them. We had our compound that we stayed in and everything, this big gated place, and we would build them there. It's all it is welded wire mesh. It's 6x6 or 4x4, whatever it was, and they would lay out one big sheet. I have some pictures of that process too. I'll give to you, but we'd lay out one big sheet, and then you'd cut it at a certain length or whatever, and then you'd stand it up and have another sheet the same length, and you would bend the ends a certain way so they hook, and then you would cut smaller pieces of welded wire mesh about a foot wide and the same length of the rest, and you would go in and insert them. Somebody would crawl in between and insert one, and you'd tie them in. Then they'd go back, I think it was like 2 feet or something, or 4 feet, and insert another one and tie them in, insert another one. And then you would wrap, both sides of the cage would be wrapped in like chicken wire too to keep the rocks in. That would actually come before you put the 2 sides together, but we manufactured it all. We would manufacture it in our compound and then put them on the backs of trucks and drag them down there.
Gotcha. So you talked about the foundations, kind of how the walls. For the roof of the house, you said y'all just used wood, right?
Yes, we would get wood and build just standard trusses. Really.
Okay.
And we would build those in our compound and then drive them down there too. And then they would, once the walls were filled and covered in concrete, they would just stack on top like a normal roof. And then the top was wood, I believe. And they may have tin. Yeah, see, yes, this is just all wood. And then there's tin on top. And this lady actually has a porch.
So, I mean, do you think that was something that was critical to them, having some type of porch? Or do you think they more so just cared about...
Probably more so just cared about the building itself, because it also provides shade and stuff. Those concrete is kind of cool in there. But, and this is beyond my expertise, talking about